Fillmore Central Falcons got back on the winning track last week with a 54-16 win over Bethlehem Academy. Head coach Chris Mensink here to recap that one. Looking at the film of that one, coach, what were your takeaways?
Well, I think our takeaways are, I thought our offensive line did a great job. We kept the ball on the ground for most of the evening. We only threw the ball twice all night. So, I thought our offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage, our offensive and defensive lines for that matter. Our first defensive possessions, I think there was 5 3-and-outs to start the ball game, and we scored touchdowns on our first 7 possessions. So, and we got a lot of guys in the mix in the rushing game. So having over 300 and some yards rushing on an evening is obviously a great accomplishment. So we're proud of our effort in that department.
You mentioned getting a lot of guys into the mix on the stat sheet. Did you get a lot of guys into the mix up front as well in a game like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think our offensive coordinator did a nice job of, getting different guys in the mix and different rotations, not necessarily subbing the whole line, but maybe putting 1 or 2 guys in a certain situation. I think that will definitely pay off down the road as you look if you have to deal with injuries and things like that. So having your offensive line on the same page and be able to gel, that's going to be very important down the stretch here.
One thing that stood out to me on the stat sheet, you guys only made it to third down twice in Friday night's game. That's a sign of big time efficiency. What do you credit that to?
Well, I think that credit that to the kids and their focus during the week. We knew that Fairwell obviously graduated a very talented senior class, so they're kind of in rebuilding mode. But you worry about those games. Are you going to play to that level? And I think our kids stepped up to that challenge, and our execution was on point on Friday night. So credit to our kids and their preparation last week.
And with a game like that, sometimes you worry about being mentally set from the get-go. You mentioned 7 straight touchdowns to start the game and having that 28-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. In a game like this, how important is it to get off to that good start and not give a team any confidence that they can stay around?
Yeah, I think that was you nailed it on the head there. That's exactly what we talked about, and the first play of the game we scored on our first play of the game. So we knew our kids were locked in and from the get-go. We're kind of a team that likes to defer and take the ball the second half, but to combat that, we took the ball right away and wanted to see how our kids were going to respond in that situation.
Well, the only thing from a negative standpoint on the stat sheet would be 9 penalties for 80 yards. You look at that from a macro perspective, it's probably a little higher of a total than what you want. But looking at that from the film perspective, what were your takeaways there?
Well, I think our takeaways are some of that's on us as coaches. Some of it is you're trying to sub and get guys in certain situations. So maybe you have too many guys on the field. So we need
Mhm.
to do a better job as a staff to prepare our kids for those situations. And we'll do that this week. But, some of that too is our safety issues. And you get up on a team like that, referees are going to be a little bit pickier on certain things. And we know that. And we got to clean some of that stuff up as well. So we took care of that in film, hopefully this week. And we know that, once you get that stuff on film, um, it's obviously going to rear its head, and officials look at that too. So we got to do a better job in certain situations with our holding and things like that. So our kids are well aware, and we'll get better for sure.
And looking at the point output on the offensive side of the ball through 3 weeks, 48 points against Hayfield, 34 against Blooming Prairie, and then 54 last Friday night against Bethlehem Academy. Obviously, that point total is going to win you most games, but how much growth have you overall seen from this offense through weeks 1 through 3, and maybe even since you started camp back in August?
Yeah, I think we're very pleased with the progress that we're making, and pleased with how that's going. And like you said earlier, we're getting a lot of guys involved in the offense. So we're not just depending on 1 or 2 guys to get it done for us. I think, like we talked about earlier in the year, this football team, one of our strengths is our offensive line. So if you can protect your quarterback and you can run the ball, defenses they're gonna have to pick what are they gonna try to take away from you, and our offensive coordinator does a great job of finding those things and getting it spread around and attacking weaknesses. So this week on the ground we had Quincy Kazi, a sophomore. He had a carry for 20. Rylan Rista, our freshman quarterback, came in and had a carry for 3. He's really made a lot of growth in the past 3 weeks. Anthony Keeney, our number 3, he runs the ball so hard. I had 2 carries for 64 yards. I'm sorry, 4 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quincy Kazi got in the end zone for a touchdown. Josh Howgrew carried it 4 times for 92 and a score. Cody Surfling, him and Kane Larson kind of switch off at that 2 spot, and he carried the ball 5 times for 91 for a touchdown, and Kane carried it 4 times as well for 49 and a touchdown. So they're kind of thunder and lightning there. They're a good changeup. One's kind of a power physical runner, and one's got an extra burst that I think is kind of sneaky for some teams. So if we can keep teams off balance like that and give them a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's up to us to adjust and find out what they're trying to take away. And our kids have been doing a great job of executing, and they don't care who gets the ball. They just want to have success. So we're proud of them in that area as well.
And among your backs as well are you talk about the team concept that this team has bought into. When they don't get the ball, are your backs just as good on the blocking end of things when they don't get it as compared to when they're carrying it?
They are. We definitely praise that. Our offensive line coach, he cooks pancakes every week, and we watch on film. If they get a pancake block, he has them over for pancakes, and they take a lot of pride in the blocking. And our receivers and our slots as well, out on the edges. We always say that blocking in the open field, that turns first downs into touchdowns. And we did have a lot of those long runs, and sometimes that's where you get your holding calls too. On some of those longer runs, you're trying to stay with that block downfield. So, you're going to have some of those penalties. So we accept that, but our kids got to keep running their feet and doing a good job that way. So yeah, that's definitely a high point, and our kids take a lot of pride in blocking.
How's coaches cooking?
Coaches, they love his pancakes. I don't know, he has a special, I don't know if it's vanilla or what he puts in those pancakes, but they're on Thursday nights, their mouths are watering. I know that.
Well, and that's part of a good meal heading into those Friday nights. And speaking of Friday nights, you're back on the road as you head to Rushford Peterson this week. What are you expecting Friday night?
Rushford's got a lot of speed on the edges. They're downhill on their defense. They don't have a lot of size this year, but we expect they got a lot of athletes. So we're going to expect a great ball game. They're down at home again. I think they've had 3 of their first 4 at home this year. So, and it's Rushford Peterson homecoming, and it doesn't matter records aside. Any year when Fillmore and Rushford get together, it's a great ball game, and it's going to be a great rivalry. So we're looking forward to that opportunity.
All right, ought to be a fun one Friday night. Keep your guys healthy, Coach. We wish best of luck.
Thanks. I also want to thank Keely Todd, Jen Lindstrom, Kelsey Woolard, Angie Kazi, those ladies. We had our annual Tackle Cancer event last Friday night, and what a great turnout for that. Also, many of the contributors, we had a bake sale, we had t-shirt sales, we had a 50-50 raffle, we had some auction items. Kim Keeney and some of those people that volunteered and donated some items brought in a great sum. The numbers are still coming in, but it was definitely our best event by far, and it's going to help support the Randy Shaver Cancer Fund, and as well as 2 local families this year. So thank you to all that came out for that wonderful event.
And a lot of winners, other than just on the scoreboard last Friday night. And with something like that, it's always a good thing to donate to, and moving towards a greater good. And how important is that from a team perspective, knowing the fact that you can be a part of something bigger than yourself?
Exactly. That's what this, you got to use football to teach kids life lessons. And that's what I told them in film session. That's the most important thing. Our kids have done a good job in those details of supporting some families that have some great needs, and they're always putting others before themselves. And that's what this life is all about. So absolutely so proud of our community and our team.
Well said, Coach. It's Fillmore Central, Rushford Peterson this Friday night in Rushford.